But back to our main story, this possible delay as Theresa May tries to hammer out an agreement with the Democratic Unionists to support her minority government. And it comes as talks to restore power sharing in Northern Ireland resume at Stormont. They've been put on hold because of the general election. And it's raised questions about whether the UK government could act as a neutral broker between the DUP and Sinn Féin. Speaking in the last hour, the DUP leader Arlene Foster said talks with the Conservatives were continuing.
Well, as I said over the weekend, we've had a positive engagement with the Conservative Party. Those discussions continue, and I'm looking forward to going over to London later on this evening to meet with my parliamentary team, which thankfully has increased since I last met with my parliamentary team, and we will be meeting with the Prime Minister as well.
So, assuming a deal can be reached, can the UK government still present itself as a neutral facilitator in the power-sharing process? Let's speak to Lord Stewart Wood, served as an advisor on Northern Ireland to the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Hello there.
Hello, Chris.
Hi, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
And Mick Fealty is editor of the Northern Ireland-based political blog Slugger O'Toole. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Chris.
Lord Stewart Wood, first of all. Well, let me ask you this first of all. Could an agreement between the British government, because this is what people have been suggesting, but in your view, could an agreement between the British government and the DUP threaten the very foundations of the Good Friday Agreement?
Well, I think that may be pushing it too far at this stage, but the crucial point is that we are in a very fragile moment in Northern Irish politics. Not only has Brexit raised the spectre of the possible return of a hard border, which people on both sides of the communal divide are worried about, we also have an executive that hasn't been in operation for 6 months, that's in some kind of paralysis. Now, in normal times, I think it's crucial for the British government to remain impartial because you never know when you have to be an honest broker. When there are crises on the horizon, it is triply important to be neutral. And that's why I think there's an especial duty for any government, whether it would be Labour or Conservative, for any minority government, not to become constitutionally dependent on any party in Northern Ireland, in this case the DUP.
So you think there could be trouble ahead?
Well, I think it's very difficult. Imagine if you'd have to imagine, when it comes to there being serious problems between the DUP and Sinn Féin, and the UK and the Irish government step in, all parties need to look in the eye of the representatives of the UK government and know that there is nothing else going on that might undermine their interest and impartiality. I'm not sure how that's possible if there is a constitutional relationship with the DUP.
How is that possible, Mick?
Well, it has to be possible because there's no provision in the Good Friday Agreement for any definition of these kinds of conflicts of interest. The truth is, the parliamentary election in Northern Ireland wasn't about Brexit. It certainly wasn't about any of the big things the big ticket items like schools and health and infrastructure, where the arguments certainly were in Britain. It was all about whether Westminster is of any use to Northern Ireland or not. And Sinn Féin took exactly the idea that it is of no use, and DUP said, no, we must be influential in the national parliament at Westminster. And you could say that the DUP kind of overachieved on that in terms of just landing in the sweet spot right between everybody else. Having landed in that sweet spot, it is entirely unreasonable of anyone else, whether it be Labour or Conservative, to deny them the possibility of having major influence over big policy decisions in the UK if they are the ones who are delivering the majority. To look at it in any other way is to suggest that it's okay for voters and MPs in Kent or in Cumberland or Cumbria, I think they call it these days, to take part or to influence in that government, but for the voters of Northern Ireland. And let's face it, the DUP is a small party in relative terms, but in the small electorate of Northern Ireland, they picked up 390,000 votes.
Northern Ireland it's a special case, is it not, compared to picking out places in England like Cumbria?
Not according to the legislation.
Not according to the legislation, but in reality, the accusation at the government is that they are putting their own interests, the interests of the party, of the Conservative Party, in place, putting that ahead of the stability of Northern Ireland.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think in the first place, the government, as Stewart rightly says, the government in Stormont collapsed last January. This has nothing to do with the inherent instability of the institutions set up underneath the Good Friday Agreement. And in fact, the UK government has had to come in several times since 2010 just to fix everything up and get it back working together again.
Okay.
So none of that really applies.
Lord Stewart Wood, it's a mess anyway.
Yeah, no, that's true. Mick makes some very good points about what. I'm not saying it's a violation of the letter of the law or some contract. That's not the point. My point it is that it is colossally unwise. Northern Ireland is a special case, and the UK government always has an interest in taking a view, irrespective of the party programmes the DUP, Sinn Féin or any other Northern Irish party runs on, and particularly when it knows that there are serious problems, not just on the horizon, but now, happening right now.
But Stuart, one thing I would say against that point, because Sinn Féin have made it very clear for a very long time now that they are one of their strategic aims is to have power in the north and in the south of Ireland, and they've had major electoral success last year in the general election in Dublin, and it is conceivable that they will move to a point where they will become active ingredients in the Irish government, who are co-guarantors of the British-Irish Treaty. Now, if it's good enough for Sinn Féin, and we're all prepared to take the instability that might arise from that, then it is good enough for the DUP to be able to follow similar ambitions, but inside the United Kingdom.
Well, we're not. I agree that would be an issue, but we're not at that point yet. And I agree that the kind of spirit that's reigned in British and Irish engagement in Belfast politics since Good Friday would be threatened if that were to be the case. But I think it's really important that a hung parliament doesn't provide both the opportunity and the excuse to break what I think is a really important informal rule about British engagement, UK government, I should say, engagement in Belfast for the last 20 years. I think that is incredibly risky.
Even if it comes at risk to the rights of the voters in Northern Ireland to be able to vote and to influence.
Final word from you, Lord Wood.
I think it's completely legitimate for the DUP to lobby government, to argue for inclusion in things in the Queen's speech and all that to happen. I think it's a fundamentally different thing to have a confidence and supply arrangement where you are dependent day in, day out on DUP support. That is a different kind of relationship.
Lord Wood, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your time. And now thanks as well to Mick Fealty.